Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the members of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, especially those in Italy with Vijay Pandit, Haribo. So I want to thank everyone for participating in our group. It is certainly an encouragement for us. And we are getting global positive reaction from people for the work that we're doing, because people are hankering for information on how Prabhupada wanted his process of bhakti yoga preached to others. And unfortunately, after his departure from this world, a lot of changes have been made by a variety of different people. And there are thousands of people that are disenchanted with the particular direction that other people have taken in terms of Krishna consciousness. Of course, people have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion, like people have body odor. And their opinion they're entitled to. But at the same time, the truth is different. And our group, we preach the truth, period. I tell people, if you are not interested in hearing what we have to say, then join the group that you feel more appropriate for your mentality, for your direction. We don't institutionalize attendance here at this program. No, we don't. If you don't want to come, don't. You have free will. Free will is a choice. This is Krishna's blessing on, or it could be curse on the conditioned soul, that you have a free choice. And for whatever reason, you choose to go with other people, go ahead. You can go on your own. That's quite all right too. Because this is a voluntary process. And I wanted to mention that over the last month and a half, we've been getting very positive response from people globally. This week, I've had a lot of conversations with different devotees, and they have been truly appreciating having come in contact with our group, the messages that we've been giving for the last over 2 years to the global public. Very much appreciating it, because it's representing what Prabhupada wanted. Some people may say, well, you don't represent Prabhupada. Well, you have to judge a person or an activity by his service. That's how you judge people. You judge them by result. You don't judge them by your opinion. People that are inexperienced will resort to mental speculation, mental concoction in order to make decisions on how they want to direct themselves. And we've seen this, Yashodanandana Prabhu, that people that have come in contact with the ISKCON people or other deviant groups from that organization that have gone off on their own get infected with this cancer of mental speculation. Go ahead. I want to request everybody that's with our group to please write in your appreciations for your participation in this group. We want to have endorsements. We have hundreds of them, not just 2 or 3. Write in your appreciations to us, to Yashodanandana or myself or anyone else in the group that you know, and they can forward them to us so that we can use them in our introduction and our closing statements so that other people get the idea of these reviews. You know, it's not just one person, it's hundreds and hundreds. And I'm getting information, Yashoda, that some people, when they get connected with the group, they do go to our Hare Krishna Society YouTube channel. And they begin to watch all of the classes for the last 2 years. And that this inspires them to take up the process of devotional service, which is non-institutionalized. In other words, we don't demand people to be a part of what we're doing. We don't. Actually, it's an internal acceptance by the individual to participate. It's an internal acceptance, just like the chanting of the rounds that we do every day. No one gets up and orders me or you or anyone else in this group to chant your rounds. You get up, you do it on your own volition, with your own purpose. Does people know that you chant your rounds? Well, Kṛṣṇa does. Prabhupada does. Does anybody else know? Well, not really, unless you've got a witness standing there looking at you. Fortunately, I have a bunch of witnesses that can testify. So this is how Kṛṣṇa consciousness is conducted, by an individual's determination to become purified through this process by the association of bona fide disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That's how you make advancement. And our mission is expanding by the grace of Prabhupada and Kṛṣṇa. It's not some kind of concocted, manufactured process that we created for our own particular purpose. No. And Yashodanandana Prabhu is my witness that he knows how this thing evolved by the grace of Prabhupada and Kṛṣṇa. He knows. And we're very honored to have him with us, speaking every 3 days a week on the philosophy of Kṛṣṇa consciousness for everyone's benefit. So just some thoughts for everyone on this Saturday morning Bhagavad Gita session. So at any rate, we'll move forward. I hope that the diaries were transferred over from Hari Prasad. I wasn't sure what he was doing, unfortunately, so I sent him the slides. At any rate, we'll move forward and read from the diaries. These are the original diaries from 1966, and they're giving us a lot of insight into Prabhupada's early days. And I wanted to mention that this is the second time we're reading through these diaries. The original one is the Jaladuta diary, which tells about Prabhupada's journey across the ocean to America and his arrival in New York City in 1965. He actually arrived in New York City on September 19th, 1965. And we're already moving along. This is the beginnings. This is the second section. Very, very interesting look at how he paced himself every day in terms of pushing on the mission despite all difficulty. Don't think that this was an easy task for him, especially being on his own. So we'll go back to Saturday, May 7th, 1966. And I'll read from this. Okay, good. We've got them. Thank you. Saturday, May 7th, sunrise 4:54 a.m., sunset 7 p.m., moonrise 10:29, Tritiya. In the afternoon, there was a meeting again of teaching Sanskrit, and contribution collection was $6.75. I went to the Ananda Ashram. The expenditure was $250. In the Ananda Ashram, they paid for 2 trips $5. That's a cheap fee for Prabhupada to speak. They gave him $5. Just very revealing, isn't it? How much nobody cared about what he was doing. Tonight, Kirtan was very much appreciated by all in the Ananda Ashram. Mr. Bill has kept my office copy of Back to Godhead for reading. I came back to the 92 Bowery, it's actually 94, he corrects it the next day, on the car of George crossed out. Sunday, May 8th, sunrise 4:52, sunset 7:71, moonrise 11:26, Chaturi. I came back to 94 Bowery on the car of George. There was no expenditure. Monday, May 9th, and I want to remind everyone, you can go to the various sources online and hear these lectures that Prabhupada was giving in the early days. I listened to one yesterday. It's very inspiring to hear how he preached to people back then when he had no disciples. He was trying to get people to take this up. And certainly it went like Hari Griva called it, the Hare Krishna explosion. It took off. And there was a small explosion of people that took up the mission with him. Sunrise 4:51, sunset 7:02, moonrise Panchami. I paid Paul $1 for expenses the whole day. I did not go out. 2 letters received, one from Govinda Maharaj and another from Chokshi, Bombay, refusing Paul's free passage. In the evening, there was a meeting. The attendance was large. 14 ladies and a gentleman attended. I'm going to look that lecture up. But the collection was poor. $5. Never mind, it is growing. Today, Mr. Carl has taken a copy of the Memorandum of Association, etc., for consultation. He has also taken away a pair of symbols for checking in the market. 3. One of the managers of Sindhi Steam Navigation Company in Bombay, who helped Srila Prabhupada obtain the free passage to America. So that was, I missed a footnote there. I can't see it with my eyes. And 4, Memorandum of Association for the League of Devotees, a religious organization established by Srila Prabhupada in India. Oh, there it is. I see it 4. Yeah. Here we have a letter from the Sindhi Steam Navigation Company Limited. As you know, I met this lady in a private darshan at her house in Bombay. So it was interesting. Respected Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, I'm directed by Srimati Maraji to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 24/4/66. She is very much pleased to know your activities at New York. As regards to passage to India, she regrets it is not possible for her to accede to your request to issue passage in favor of the boy to whom you propose to bring to India. Free passage will be issued in your favor only. With pranams, yours sincerely, Chokshi, to Bhaktivedanta Swami. It was care of Paul Murray. It was Kṛṣṇa intervening because we all know what happened later with Paul Murray. He took a flip on the backside and he was ejected out of the association of the pure devotee. And on Tuesday, May 10th, 1966, sunrise 4:50, sunset 7:03, moonrise 0:14, Shasti today. Did not go out, also did not go out, so Prabhupada stayed in. 2 letters received from Robert Nelson, who tried Harper Row for publication, received back the old passbook transferred to Grand Street, $109.87, paid Paul $1 for expenditure, 2 letters written, one to Brindavan and the other to Captain Pandya. Both Brindavan and Captain Pandya written about kola, cartel, and harmonium. These are the instruments for the chanting. So Prabhupada's trying to collect paraphernalia in his efforts to expand the preaching work and the Sankirtan mission here in America with very little assistance from others. So this goes on in the material world. We'll move forward now with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava and then the class up in the mountains. Did you get your computer fixed, Yashodanandana Prabhu?
It's on the way there. It's on the way there. Most of it is fixed. There's other things that need to be done soon. But we're progressing. Good progress last night.
Okay, so you're still on your phone, eh?
No, right now I'm on the computer.
Okay, yeah, it looks like a good image. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's hear the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Paribhrajagacharya Sattvaresvara Samadhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Gopal ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai गंगा माई की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए ऑल ग्लोरीज टू देयर समीर ऑल ग्लोरीज टू देयर समीर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam Narayanam namaskrityam Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam mudirayet Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam or Srimad Bhagavad Gita, after offering respectful obeisances, one, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, two, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, three, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then four, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Kindly forgive me today, it's a little adjustment. It's the first time I've had the desktop computer in about 10-12 days. The computer crashed a little while ago and it was rehabilitated thanks to Venkat Prabhu and some other technical pundits in Sonora. We will be reading a few verses from the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. We invite everyone at home to carefully follow. These are the verses that were given by Srila Prabhupada in 1966 when he started his preaching in New York, as we're reading in his diary. This is from page number 1 in the introduction. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam dadati svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava, the devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. As we do every week, we'll be reading a few selected verses from a prayer called a Gita Dhyana, or meditation on the Bhagavad Gita from the Vaishnaviya Tantra Sar. Today we'll be reading text number 5 and text number 6. Bhishmadrona tata jayadrata jalagandhara nilotpala shalyagrahabati kripena vahani karnena velakulam ashwat Ashvatthama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vardini Sotirna Galupan Deverana Nadi Kevartaka Keshavaham. With Keshava as the helmsman, verily was crossed by the Pandavas the great battle river, whose banks were Bhishma and Drona, whose water was Jayadratha, whose blue lotus was the king of Gandhara, whose crocodile was Shalya, whose current was Kripa, whose billow was Kṛṣṇa, whose terrible alligators were Vikarna and Ashvatthama, whose whirlpool was Duryodhana. In this verse, they're referring to all the great warriors on the sides of the Kurus in the battle of Kurukshetra. Parasharavacha sarojamalam gitartha gandotkatam nanakyanaka kesharam harikata sambodhana bhoditam loke sajjana shatpaderaraha papiyamanam mudam Bhuyada Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvam Shinah Shreyasi. May this lotus of the Mahabharata, born in the lake of the words of Vyasa, sweet with the fragrance of the meaning of the Gita, with many stories and as his statements, fully opened by the discourses of Hari, the destroyer of the sins of Kali, and drunk joyously by the bees of good men in the world, become day by day the bestower of good to us. So we will proceed with our reading from the Bhagavad Gita. It is to be noted that we are reading from the original 1972 Macmillan unrevised, non-adulterated, non-interpolated version. Today we will be reading from chapter 10, I believe, text number 40. I will repeat one line of the verse, and you can individually repeat another line at home or wherever you are. We'll do this slowly. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Kṛṣṇa Consciousness, also known as the Kṛṣṇa Consciousness Movement. Text 40. Nantosti mama divyanam. Nantosmi mama divyanam. Vibhutinam parantapa. Vibhutinam parantapa. Esha tuddeshataha prokto. Esha tuddeshataha prokto. Vibhuter vistaro maya. Vibhuter vistaro maya. Na nor. Antaha, a limit. Asti is there. Mama, of my. Divyanam, divine. Vibhutinam, opulences. Parantapa, O conqueror of the enemies. Eshaha, all this. To that. Uddeshataha, examples. Proktaha, spoken. Vibhute, opulences. Vistaraha, expanded. Maya, by me. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Purport. As stated in the Vedic literature, although the opulences and energies of the Supreme are understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulences. Therefore, not all the opulences and energies can be explained. Simply a few examples are being described to Arjuna to pacify his inquisitiveness. Text 41. Yadyad vibhutimat sattvam Srimadurjitameva tattadeva bhagachatvam mamatejo amsasambhavam yadyat, whatever, vibhuti, opulences, mat, having, sattvam, existence, Srimat, beautiful, urjitam, glorious, eva, certainly, va, or, tat, all those, eva, certainly, avagacha, you must know, tvam, you, mama, my, tejaha, splendor, amsha, partly, sambhavam, born of. Translation. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Purport. Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Kṛṣṇa's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinary opulent should be considered to represent Kṛṣṇa's opulence. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sarkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadanastrinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarabhata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshta Sat Karomishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It should be known in the Vishnu Sahasranam of the Mahabharata, one of Lord Vishnu's name, one of Lord Krishna's name is called Ananta. Ananta means unlimited. Krishna has unlimited strength, He has unlimited beauty. He has unlimited opulences. He has unlimited renunciation and unlimited wealth. No one can count the qualities of Kṛṣṇa, of God. He has unlimited qualities, unlimited opulences. What this 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is revealing is just some of the very few aspects of Kṛṣṇa's opulences. This is not a full, complete description, and Prabhupada is explaining this in text number 40 in the purport, as stated in the Vedic literature. Although the opulences and energies of the Supreme are understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulences. Therefore, not all the opulences and energies can be explained. Those of you who are familiar with the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, you do know that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are also descriptions of the opulences and activities, the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishnadas Kaviraj, the celebrated author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, has also mentioned that these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are unlimited. It is not that it is a complete, final description of his pastimes. They're unlimited pastimes, even when it describes all the places that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited in South India. There is mention in some verses how Chaitanya, it is not possible to describe all the places that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went. Now, there's mention of some of the major places, some of the major temples, but he went everywhere. So similarly, the opulences of the personality of Godhead are complete. In the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, there is a description that Ananta, who is supporting the whole universe on his heads, that he has millions of tongues, but still it is insufficient to describe the qualities and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a very important point. We can hear, we can use our intelligence and our 2 ears in this human form of life to understand as much as we can, but the process, we should never forget. The whole process of understanding spiritual life is a process of revelation. Why do we say this? Revelation in the sense that Kṛṣṇa, when Kṛṣṇa is pleased upon a devotee, upon the service of a devotee, upon the devotional attitude of a devotee, upon the surrender of a devotee, upon the lack of personal selfish motivation of a devotee, Kṛṣṇa can reveal himself according to the intensity of the devotion. We've often cited this verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 11, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham. This is a very important verse where Kṛṣṇa is describing that as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. There's some very, very important statements by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. Prabhupada explains, everyone is searching for Kṛṣṇa in the different aspects of his manifestations. Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence and as the all-pervading supersoul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Kṛṣṇa is only fully realized by his pure devotees. Consequently, Kṛṣṇa is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world, also, Kṛṣṇa reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. This is a very important point, because we see that different devotees, and we have actually seen and practically observed that many devotees will practice the path of bhakti, will take up the path of bhakti, but get discouraged. Several times we've been requested to comment, why does it seem so difficult sometimes in the beginning? Well, we see in the Bhagavad Gita how happiness and a mode of goodness is described, that in the beginning it is just like poison, and at the end it is just like nectar. But the process of bhakti is transcendental. The process of chanting, hearing, serving the deity, offering foodstuffs to Kṛṣṇa, according to the bona fide authorized standard described by the Acharya. All of these activities, the preaching of the message, the distribution of books, all of these activities, if they're done sincerely, without personal motivation, there will be a result. There will be a positive result. And even if one experiences some problems, just like last week, one devotee, I'm not going to give the name, he's a nice devotee, he chants, reads the Bhagavatam, worships Tulsi, offers his foodstuff, but he was explaining to me that once in a while, he's experiencing problems. And my reply was, in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there is a very nice verse that is quoted by Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, Bhumo Skalita Padanam Bhume Reva Valambanam Tvayi Jata Paradanam Twameva Sharanam Prabho. The word Prabho means master. The devotee is gesturing Kṛṣṇa, oh my master. Just like if a person is trying to go up on a slippery stairway, by trying again and again, eventually one will succeed. Similarly, even though one may have some aparad in the chanting in the beginning, by trying sincerely again and again, one will succeed, one will become purified. One has to be patient. We've acquired this human form of life after millions of years of evolution in different species. And it is normal that in this life, Prabhupada also explains in the Bhagavatam, a person will be distracted by sense gratification. This is due to past conditioning. But one should not stop the practice. One should continue the spiritual practice, especially the chanting, hearing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is very important. Very important. We read every Sunday morning in the Bhagavatam before the class, Nashta prayeshu vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. The Sanskrit word is given, nityam bhagavata sevaya. That one should render service to the cause of Srimad Bhagavatam by rendering service to the pure devotee, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And the result will be that gradually all of these inauspicious things in the heart, lust, anger, greed, all of these things will be cleared up. Last Wednesday, we were discussing how every human being, especially in this material world, is facing 6 formidable problems, 6 large waves, 6 big waves. What is that? Kama, lust, krodha, anger, lobha, greed, mada, madness, moha, illusion, and matsarya, envy. Every human being is affected with this. It's not that some people are affected, some people are not affected. No, everyone is affected. Just like here in California in the summer, they have a lot of problem with forest fires, at least in this area. Now, somebody may think, oh, it's not going to affect me. Oh, it's going to affect you some way or other. Same thing in the winter. In some parts of California, the precipitation can be very severe. There's parts of California that are 9,000 feet above sea level. They do get snow, very, very heavy snow. And when it rains very heavily. Now, somebody may foolishly think, oh, it's not going to affect me. No, it will affect you. You have to take precautions. What is that precaution? In order to conquer these things, one has to take shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee. Taking shelter means hearing. All of you have heard, we've discussed this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, how Srila Prabhupada explains in one purport in the first canto that one has to associate with a saintly person by hearing, not by seeing. This is a very important point. There are some other practitioners, persons with a profound of knowledge, who are preaching that people should associate primarily to their physicality, their living physical presence. Well, good for you. Well, what does Prabhupada say? What did we read last week? That one has to associate with persons, with liberated persons, not physically, but by hearing through logic and philosophy. That's in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. One has to submissively hear from a realized soul like Srila Prabhupada. Now the problem comes if somebody changes the message, if somebody adulterates the message and presents it as original, that is cheating. That is misleading. This is very important. Just like in America, also in Canada, they have certain government agencies that supervise food manufacturers, food providers, that if you are allowed to package a food and sell a certain kind of food, you have to disclose what's in that food. What are the ingredients in that food? And there are certain restrictions. There are certain limitations at what you can add to the food, although in Kali Yuga, that is also very compromised. But basically, they don't like people to adulterate the food. That is dangerous. Just like we've given the example in 1971 when I was in Calcutta, I was told by the temple president, go get some milk, and they gave you a stainless steel bucket. You have to watch the milkman when he milks the cows, so you get the exact milk from that cow. Don't let him take the bucket from some other bucket. So I asked, well, why is that? I said, because some of them will keep buffalo, and they would either give you buffalo milk or mix the buffalo milk with cow milk. It becomes adulterated. Not good. Not good. Why? Because we know cow milk is very nutritious. It's very beneficial. And it's also, cow milk is very, very powerful for the brain. It's got all vitamins and minerals. Very beneficial. But buffalo milk has a very different effect. Similarly, if one hears the message of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from an unauthorized person or professional Bhagavatam reciters or motivated persons, the effect might be very different. Just like if one drinks buffalo milk, somebody may argue, well, it's liquid, it's white, it looks like milk, but it has a different effect. It's not pure. That's why we see in Hari Bhaktivilas and Srila Prabhupada many times quoted that verse, that one should not hear from the non-Vaishnava. Avaishnava mukod girnam putam hari katamritam. That the topics of discussion of the activities of Lord Krishna are very sweet, very nectarian. Shravanam deva kartavyam sarpochistam yatapayaha. One should not hear from a non-Vaishnava. Why? Because there'll be a different effect. Just like we don't hear from someone who is not a Vaishnava, someone who is not a devotee. It will create problems. The example is given just like if you take milk that is touched with the lips of a serpent or a snake, it will become poisonous. Similarly, if we hear the message of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or the Shastra from persons who are not in the bona fide line of parampara, or who misrepresent the teachings or adulterate the teachings, it may be a very different effect. Very different effect. One has to be very careful about that. Very careful about that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much for your explanation of today's verses and some other insights further into Kṛṣṇa consciousness and how to understand this philosophy according to Srila Prabhupada's unadulterated teachings. And this is one of the critical aspects of our mission, the legacy of Srila Prabhupada, to protect it moving forward. And Yashodanandana Prabhu, you were mentioning to me the other day how you enjoy when I read from sections of Chaitanya Charitamrita as I'm progressing along in my own personal study. And I wanted to mention to everyone, and I think all of you have had this experience, that a lot of times you have questions in your mind about the philosophy. You have questions about problems that you have in your life, and you're looking for answers. Hey, Vijaya Pandit, you look for answers. What is the answer to this question? What is the answer to this problem? And you decide, well, I think I'll sit down and read the philosophy of Srila Prabhupada from his books. And you start to read the books, and what happens, Vijaya Pandit? The answer appears right in front of you on the pages of Srila Prabhupada's books. So whatever question you have, that answer will be given to you. Why? Because the pure devotee is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The pure devotee is not an ordinary person. This process of devotional service, this process of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, is a transcendental science of yoga. Not just of yoga, but of the highest principles of yoga, which is based on spiritual sound, not exercise, asanas, not pranayamas, breathing techniques. No, it's based on the principle of hearing. And it has to be received from a pure source, not some concocted bunch of garbage through sahajias, fraudulent people that pretend that they're on the Uttama Adhikari platform. This is a very serious issue that's going on in the name of our sampradaya. And I want to read, unfortunately, our assistants are on other duties today and they're not able to put up things on the screen. I'm reading from Anchalila, chapter 7, text 13. And if everybody wants to write this down, Anchalila, chapter 7, text 13. And Yashoda said to me, oh, I love it when you find these different sections from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and you present them in the class moving forward. And I thought that this was very relevant to today's discussion and will give us some real insight philosophically. Now, sometimes people wanted to shoot the messenger. In other words, they'll come up with this argument. Why do you bring this up? Why do you bring these issues up? Why don't you concentrate on talking about Krishna's pastimes? What kind of sahajiya comment is that? When you read something right from Prabhupada's books and people misinterpret it saying, you're saying it. We're not saying it. We're repeating what Prabhupada says for the benefit of others who have not read this information and are looking for insights into the solutions of how to make progress in Krishna consciousness without the association of bogus gurus. That's the point. Here is the verse, text 12. You have spread the Sankirtan movement of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, it is evident that you have been empowered by Lord Krishna. There is no question about it. I'll read it again. You have spread the Sankirtan movement of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, it is evident that you have been empowered by Lord Krishna. There is no question about it. Purport. Sri Madhvacharya has brought our attention to this quotation from Narayan Samhita. In the Dwapara Yuga, one could satisfy Krishna or Vishnu only by worshiping opulently according to the Panchatrakriti system. But in the age of Kali, one can satisfy and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, simply by chanting his holy name. This is what Prabhupada brought. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that unless one is directly empowered by the causeless mercy of Krishna, one cannot become the spiritual master of the entire world, Jagat Guru. One cannot become an acharya simply by mental speculation, Dravida. The true acharya presents Krishna to everyone by preaching the holy name of the Lord throughout the world. Thus, the conditioned souls purified by the chanting of the holy name are liberated from the blazing fire of material existence. In this way, spiritual benefit grows increasingly full like the waxing moon in the sky. The true acharya, the spiritual master of the entire world, must be considered an incarnation of Krishna's mercy. Indeed, he is personally embracing Kṛṣṇa. He is therefore the spiritual master of all the Varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, and all the ashrams, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. Since he is understood to be the most advanced devotee, he is called Paramahansa Thakur. Thakur is a title of honor offered to the Paramahansa. Therefore, one who acts as an acharya directly representing Lord Kṛṣṇa is, by spreading his name and fame, is also to be called Paramahansa Thakur. Well, it's pretty apparent by this purport from Srila Prabhupada who is qualified, who is the actual representative of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'll finish up here, Yashodanandana Prabhu. I saw this devotee from San Diego, Dravida, speaking yesterday in a Bhagavatam class, and they were asking him positions. What is the position of these new gurus? Some people were asking him some very direct questions, and he was trying to speculate an answer, making up philosophy. It was apparent. He goes, well, the new gurus, when you chant the samsara prayers, you can include them in the first 4 verses. After that, I'm not sure. And kind of dismissed everything in a cavalier, whimsical manner without any philosophical understanding to support what he's saying. No authority. Because these people are not representing Srila Prabhupada's desire to spread Krishna consciousness according to his unadulterated, pure representation in his Vani incarnation. Yashodanandana, if you could further comment. Microphone, please.
I think it's very important for any devotee who's trying to make progress in spiritual life to adopt a very meek, humble, subdued attitude. Why do we say that? Well, first of all, the example of our Srila Prabhupada. When we study the poetry of Srila Prabhupada before he came to America, when we study the writings, his whole devotional attitude, it's very important to understand one point. It is not that Prabhupada was a neophyte who became advanced. No, that is an incorrect understanding. This may be the position of different practitioners who go from the conditioned stage. By the mercy of the pure devotee, they get access to devotional service. They get the connection with the name of Krishna. They chant, they gradually become advanced. One can progress and eventually become liberated. Srila Prabhupada was always liberated. There was a very nice letter that was given by Srila Prabhupada in the early 1970s, where he explained that there was never a time in my life where I forgot Krishna. I was always Krishna conscious. And this is the characteristics of a Nitya Siddha, of an eternally liberated soul. There's a difference between an eternally liberated soul and a conditioned soul. Srila Prabhupada is in the first category. So when somebody's looking at the books and trying to speculate and concoct whether such and such passage corresponds to them or not, this is very dangerous. This kind of speculation is very, very dangerous. Then one starts to imagine. Some of you may be familiar with a purport in the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Prabhupada goes on for paragraph after paragraph of different deviations from the standard of devotional service. then Srila Prabhupada want us to be very careful to avoid this. Otherwise, one will think that he becomes an avatar or a very reputed devotee. And this is the disease. This is the disease. There's a big difference between acting in a humble capacity of just being a representative and emphasizing Srila Prabhupada as the actual Acharya, rather than the posing and posturing. Posing and posturing is not going to do it. And we've seen the results of this. It has been seen many times. I just want to read one or two things from the third canto of the Bhagavatam. I think it's very pertinent to what we've been discussing. This is from the third canto, chapter 29, text number 16. Srila Prabhupada says, we should befriend and offer special respect to persons who are developed in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Other living, excuse me, other living entities are undoubtedly part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But because their consciousness is still covered and not developed in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, we should renounce their association. It is said by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that even if one is a Vaishnava, if he is not of good character, his company should be avoided, although he may be offered the respect of a Vaishnava. Anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted as a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. Then there is also in chapter 29, text number 8, canto 3, chapter 29, text number 8. Now this is a very important one. One who approaches the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, but who is proud of his personality, envious of others, or vengeful, is in the mode of anger. He thinks that he is the best devotee. Devotional service executed in this way is not pure. It is mixed and is of the lowest grade, tamasaha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur advises that a Vaishnava who is not of good character should be avoided. A Vaishnava is one who has taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life. But if one is not pure and still has motive, then he's not a Vaishnava of the first order of good character. One may offer his respects to such a Vaishnava because he has accepted the Supreme Lord as the ultimate goal of life, but one should not keep company with a Vaishnava who is in a mode of ignorance. And I'll leave that by saying, to whom it may concern. I want to make a little bit of a statement here. There's numerous devotees on this program and who help with our various projects. I just want to make a very honorable mention to these devotees: Bhakta Rupesh, Bhakta Hari Prasad, and then we have Sean Evans, Bhakta Robert Barron, obviously Venkat, Apakrita in Montreal, Ramananda with his Goshala and his project, our good friend in Italy with his wife Gopika, Vijay Pandit Prabhu and Bhakta Zoran, and numerous other devotees who are contributing to this preaching endeavors that we are doing. We offer our respectful obeisances to all of you. I believe that Bhakta Nilesh had some very good comments to make.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll just bring him in. I wanted to mention that Kṛṣṇa consciousness is a voluntary process. It's based on individual desire. So the goal of this program is to help stimulate people to want to take up the process from their own internal desire to make advancement based on association with Srila Prabhupada and his bona fide disciples. It's meant to inspire us, not meant to discourage us. So sometimes people may feel, oh, You're trying to institutionalize this program. You're trying to make it a boot camp. We've had that comment. Oh, you sound like a boot camp. You're saying you should chant your rounds, 16 rounds a day. Why do you tell us to do that? Well, it's not that we're telling people what to do. We're asking people to remember Prabhupada's instructions and follow them carefully, because you as a person will individually become inspired by the practice of bhakti yoga. There's a saying, he that complies against his will is of his own opinion still, which he may adhere to, yet disown for reasons to himself best known. So individual ambition to make advancement in spiritual life comes from within, just like individual ambition to set up the guru business comes of his own personal ambition. That's what the guru business means. So when we bring these topics up to our group, it's because Prabhupada is constantly discussing it. Sometimes Yashoda Prabhu, and I've heard Bhagawan speak about this, that Prabhupada was constantly making people aware in his translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita of the deviant behavior of his godbrothers against the will of Bhaktisiddhanta. It permeates throughout the whole 17 volumes. Now, does Prabhupada mention anybody by name? No. But he's talking about the misunderstanding of them about what is a bona fide spiritual master and how you accept that role. So after Bhaktisiddhanta's departure, there were 60 Gaudiya Math temples. There was a huge war that went on amongst the Prabhupada's godbrothers to take over the temples, to sell the presses. Instead of publishing books, they were more interested in the bricks and mortar and a nice place to live. Not a place for preaching, but a place for comfortable living. So this goes on after the departure. In Gaudiya Math, it went on. And here, in the ISKCON world that we're aware of, this has become Gaudiya Math Part 2, and we're drawing the information from Prabhupada's teachings to direct us, to guide us away from falling into that same trap, which so many of our godbrothers have fallen into. Bhakta Ram Singh, we'll get to Nilesh in a minute. Bhakta Ram Singh in Sacramento, he has a new center. Is there a few comments you could make in terms of today's discussion for everyone's insight? Ram Singh? Okay, we'll move on with Nilesh Dalal in Miami, Florida. Yes, Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, I'm outside again. So very interesting class and very interesting topic. I just wanted to bring it to some attention is when you were talking about the new gurus and you were talking about the application of the first 4 shlokas of Samsara Dava. It's very interesting to know that these people, the very first paragraph which says, and if anybody was to listen to the purport of this Samsara Dava program, the Samsara Dava prayer, Prabhupada says very clearly, Praptasya Kalyana Gunarna Vashya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. When you say Praptasya Kalyana means what? You know, Praptasya means to obtain, Prapti, to Prapt Karna. You know, even in Hindi, it is very simple. Praptasya Kalyana. Kalyana means to do good to others, the ocean of mercy. So until and unless you don't get the power from the ocean of mercy, which is Krishna, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, So praptasya kalyana gunarna vasya. If you get that power from the ocean of mercy, is when you can give mercy to others. So how do you become a guru is when you're ordered by your guru, because that through that order comes the power, through that order. So even if you were to look at the very first paragraph, is it applicable? Let everybody individually decide for themselves who is really that person, you see. And why do we constantly talk about this fake guru issue is because let us look at it from a modern context also. Being a little more materialistic than I would like to be, uh, today we get very agitated by different media groups, by different journalists, where they are trying to portray only a certain perspective, or they have an agenda, a hidden agenda, to promote a certain perspective, and they confuse and they twist today's modern news.
Yes.
Similarly, we and there are people who will talk against them, that hey, you are supposed to be a journalist, you are just supposed to report the way things are as it is. And when somebody distorts it and portrays a completely different picture, we all get very angry.
Yeah.
Similarly, we are trying to broadcast Srila Prabhupada's original message. And when there is any distortion, it aggravates us. It's a very common process. So, what is wrong in saying that if they are saying something wrong, they're broadcasting it wrong, they are showing it with a certain twist? We have to bring it to people's attention about this part. And hence, we are speaking the way we are speaking. What is wrong with that? Hare Krishna.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, we're not really speaking, we're repeating. We're repeating what Prabhupada is writing in his books. And we're repeating it, and when we hear the lectures of Srila Prabhupada, to help us understand how to deal with deviance, because he was very experienced in that. I'm going to go to Kevin G, and then we'll go to Yashodanandana for a further comment. Kevin G, whereabouts are you? What part of the world? I see your hands up.
Hare
Push them
Krishna,
over.
Prabhu. Dandavats. I'm in Tennessee, Prabhu.
Okay, good. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandavats to all the devotees. Thank you for class, and thank you for the gathering today, Prabhu. I was just wondering. I had this question recently. I was trying to formulate it. I was meditating on it. I listen to Prabhupada Memories on YouTube often. Kind of shifted towards that through a handful of years recently, and been making my preparation for my deities, and I just wanted to hear Prabhupada nectar, hear Prabhupada's disciples recall instructions and memories for Prabhupada, and so I was hearing this one Prabhupada disciple in YouTube, Prabhupada Memories, discussed. He was mentioning actually more than once, more than one Prabhupada disciple was recalling this a couple different times where a person would come into a temple or a place where Srila Prabhupada made an appearance, and they would run up to Prabhupada, and one gentleman dove across the floor with his hands out to try to touch Prabhupada's feet, and Srila Prabhupada, this devotee, said he was there and witnessed Prabhupada put his cane down right in front of this gentleman's head, so his hands could stop and not touch Prabhupada's feet. And this one, also just this one other Prabhupada disciple, not a part of this group, but he says that he's not a part of this con. He was mentioning that Prabhupada might have taken some reaction by taking sins of some followers and stuff. I personally, I believe that Prabhupada is, of course, like the Acharya and Krishna's pure devotee. I believe he could take the whole entire world as disciples without reaction. But I was thinking that was Prabhupada displaying this not letting people touch his feet because his disciples were present, and that they wanted to follow Prabhupada all the way, and also like sometimes imitate Prabhupada also, and almost be like Prabhupada. Is this Prabhupada displaying his example of not letting people touch the feet because he probably knew that they would eventually let people touch their feet? Like, I was just wondering this question for the sake of discussion.
Okay, well, I'll give a quick answer there. We're not really sure why Prabhupada did what he did all the time. That would be a speculation by devotees, what they think or that, whether they were initiated or not on Prabhupada's behavior. But we do know that Prabhupada is the pure devotee and he is the shelter of all of us. So mainly the concentration should be on his books and the process that he's giving. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please, if you could further respond. Microphone, please.
Yeah, let me just relate a little story. In 1971 in Calcutta, later in the year, we had a program in a place called Deshapriya Park, which is in the Bengali section of Calcutta. And there was a very successful Pandal program where Chitananda and different sannyasis were there. And it was very, very exciting. And what happened is after the program, when the devotees were leaving, many Bengalis' widows, they were trying to touch the sannyasis and brahmacharis' feet and put to their dust. And when Prabhupada heard about it, he says, no, don't let them do that. Because when they do that, you take on their karma. Don't do that. What you do, if they do that, you put your hand back on their head and retransfer the karma to them. There is another conversation where Prabhupada said at one point, when you touch somebody's feet, you absorb their sinful activities. And Prabhupada was not in favor. I mean, there may be many reasons why Prabhupada did not want devotees to do that, but also one of the reasons is show by example. The Acharya teaches by example. For a neophyte devotee or practitioner to do this is not advised. This is not advisable. It is not recommended. Prabhupada did not like this. So this is very important. We have seen this even in South India. We're in some program, we're trying to come off the stage and people are diving, like dive bombing, trying to touch your feet. It's part of the culture, Vedic culture in India, to touch sadhus and Brahmins and sannyasis and brahmacharis, but Prabhupada did not recommend this, especially for those people who think, hey, I'll just get everybody to wash my feet. Well, unless you're pretty powerful spiritually. Remember, we discussed last week, what did Prabhupada say in the Nectar of Instruction? We're not trying to point the finger and accuse anybody here, but this instruction is for all disciples. And Prabhupada says, if one imitates a Mahabhagavata without being self-realized, eventually one will become degraded. This is a very important instruction and warning by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Yes, and think about it like this, Prabhu, Yashodanandana Prabhu. What happens, forget about touching feet, what happens when a godbrother of ours accepts 70,000 disciples? 70,000 so-called disciples. Actually, they're not disciples, they're followers. Does he get the karma? Yes, he does. Just look at the situation that we have with one of our godbrothers. Look at how he lives in this body now as a result of, someone would say, well, how is it possible? Well, see for yourself. Tell me it isn't a fact. Someone says, well, that's blasphemy. Of what? Where is it said that you should accept that many so-called disciples? Never. And Prabhupada would never have approved of this. This is Sahajiism at its finest. Dharma Bhavana, you've got your nice kurta on and chadar. Make a few comments just as we come to the end of the class.
All right, Kṛṣṇa, I had a question. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to raise my hand or do the yellow hand, so I tried my best here. I'm just going to read something. It might take a few minutes here, but Prabhupada, he liked the road show back in 1971, and he saw an exhibition of it in Pittsburgh. Then a couple weeks later, he changed his mind and said, so far the road show and the yoga villages are concerned, these things should be stopped. Simply perform our kirtan. If we divert our attention this way, the whole thing will gradually deteriorate. So he goes on and on explaining how he really didn't like the road show because it seems to be kind of an invention, and it kind of detracted devotees away from our real goal of hearing and chanting. So my question is, like many Prabhupada Nugas here around the world, maybe like in North America, haven't been so organized and able to work together to build temples and things like that. So kind of my question is, how do we understand if someone mentions kind of centralized and bureaucratic associations that promote Prabhupada as the eternal preceptor guru, but they seem to have this where one person asks permission of somebody else, and that permission asks somebody else or that permission. And sometimes some of the associations don't seem to kind of be afraid of the Western devotees from the 1970s. So I had kind of some questions about this, how this whole thing applies to how we're kind of working here in North America. If you could comment, please.
I'll get Yashoda to respond, but I can say this, that there has been a lot of chaos. And, you know, for example, you use the term Prabhupada Nuga. Now, I'm not sure, Yashoda, where that term came from. Maybe you'll have a better understanding. I never heard of it before in my 16 years in the mission as a full-time member. Never heard that term. That's why it's very important for us to understand the name that we've given to this group is the Prabhupada Disciples Association, PDA. It is not Prabhupada Nugas. Recently, there was some articles written against one of our leading members here, claiming falsehoods by so-called Prabhupada Nugas. So which Prabhupada Nuga group are you referring to? There's 30 or 40 of these different groups, depending on the mindset of each of these individuals and what they think is Prabhupada's desire or thought. So we are Prabhupada disciples. That's as simple as it is. We are the Prabhupada Disciples Association, and we are promoting people to take this role in their life as followers of Srila Prabhupada in his instructions, in his books, and in his teachings. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please.
And I mean, this particular term, the history of it, that came in 1993 when we were in Badger, Paranjan, and numerous other devotees. We received a call from a devotee who is now departed, Kapindra Swami. He had been in Phoenix, Arizona, and he had engaged in a discussion with a Swamiji from the institution. I'm not going to give the name here. And this Swamiji, this Kapindra Swami, said that Prabhupada was a pure devotee who was constantly in touch with a super soul, and everything he did was perfect. And this devotee protested, saying that Prabhupada made mistakes, and Prabhupada did this, and Prabhupada did that. And Kapindra Swami felt very offended by the mentality of this devotee. Eventually, that Swami kicked Kapindra Swami out of the temple because he didn't really toe the party line, the official institutional party line. What happened is different devotees in Badger, California, they started a newsletter called Prabhupada Anuga News, or News of the Followers of Prabhupada. And this was originally meant to distinguish themselves or separate themselves from the kind of other followers or institutional followers with whom we had many differences. Excuse me, philosophical differences. That was the beginning of it. Then there are different websites over the years that have developed, and because what it is, it's become a popular expression for anybody who is no longer part officially of the institution, but have considered themselves followers. The word Anuga means followers of Prabhupada, without any of the, issues that the institution has, any of the philosophical deviations, any of the behavioral deviations. That's how the term came about. The problem is, now it's become a full-fledged, like, rogues, many of whom are totally independent, whimsical, won't listen to anybody. They think they know everything, and it creates a problem for genuine aspiring followers of Prabhupada, just like we saw recently of some people who launched some scandalous, malicious accusation of somebody being a child abuser and a child molester when there is no evidence of that. But the people call themselves Prabhupada. So it often tends, rather than a philosophical issue, it goes into the political and the nonsense. That's why we call ourselves Hare Krishna Society, Prabhupada Disciple / Prabhupada Disciples Association, trying to follow Prabhupada's teachings, chant, hear the Bhagavatam, distribute books, have programs, just like our good friend in Malaysia is doing Swarat, just like Bhakta Ram is doing, just like so many people on this call are doing. Carry on the teachings without all the politics, without all the garbage. That's all I can say for now. Hare Krishna.
Okay, excellent. Before we end the program, I see Nilesh Dalal. Do you still have your hand up, or is that just by circumstance that the hand is waved for a comment? Nilesh Dalal Sham. No, I guess it isn't. Thank you, everyone, for your participation today in the discussion and the readings from the original Bhagavad Gita as it is, unadulterated. And we're working on book publication. We'll let you know in the future how it unfolds. And we're also planning to have a Prabhupada festival in the future with our group. We'll also let you know about that. So to let devotees come together and be part of a festival of prasadam and chanting and scripture. Okay, so we got someone speaking in the background. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move forward. I think we may be able to get the end of the program, although I don't see if we have a host here today. Yashoda, could you check and see if there's somebody that can bring up the ending, or we might just end it?
I've got no way of checking that. I believe Venkat had to leave after part of the program. I don't know if Rupesh or Bhakta Hari Prasad are there to finalize with the Samsara Parayar or the Kirtan. I don't know. Is anybody there with the Kirtan?
No. Okay, so let's offer our prayers to the other assembled devotees. If you could lead us, Yashoda Nandana, and we'll end the class. We'll see everybody tomorrow morning.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thanks everybody for participating. Grazie. Vijay Pandit, Bhakta Zoran, Gopika Mataji, come va?
Bene.
Molto bene.
Molto bene. Grazie.
Tutte le glorie Srila Prabhupada.
Dai, tutte le glorie Srila Prabhupada.
Tua divina grazia. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
We have a very interesting new member too, very enthusiastic, that I wanted to compliment, Kṛṣṇa Kata Das in San Diego. very enthusiastic and very sincere. So thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful dialogue with us today, this last week. Aprakrita, Haribol, glories to Prabhupada. Janas Priya in Hawaii, Haribol. And all the devotees around the world, thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning for Srimad Bhagavatam class from the Prabhupada Disciples Association. Hari
Beautiful
Krishna
picture of Radharaman from Rupesh Chawan Prabhu, Bhakta Rupesh. Beautiful picture. Very nice. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribol.